Hi everybody, welcome to another video of answering immigration questions. So I'm going to take another question today and give you some answers. Thank you. So today's question is, do you always need a lawyer for an immigration application? That's a very good question, and I think a lot of people ask themselves this question when engaging in immigration applications. So I think a lot of people, most people out there submit applications on their own without using a lawyer, but there are a lot of people that decide to engage the services of a lawyer. I think depending on what you're doing. So for example, if you've submitted an application, let's say you've submitted a visitor visa application, it's been refused, you want to reapply, you might want to talk to a lawyer to get some information or have the lawyer apply on your behalf. For example, if you've been sponsored to Canada or you submit an application to get sponsored and your application has been refused and you have to file an appeal at the Immigration Appeal Division, then I would highly recommend that you consult with a lawyer. There are some people that are going to go through the process by themselves and represent themselves, but I can confidently say that whenever it involves court procedures, it's really good to have an experienced lawyer that's going to handle your application, because there's a lot of procedures, processes, and technicalities that only a lawyer that has been in the system for a long time can help you guide you through the process. But for other straightforward applications, spousal sponsorship, parental sponsorship, visitor visas, PR card renewals, citizenship application, essentially all applications, anybody can do it by themselves. I know a lot of people that have done their applications from A to Z, and it has gone very well. It really depends what kind of person you are and how much you like to do paperwork, and also understand procedures. So if you're a very kind of an organized person, that you like to read the immigration website many times and read manuals, read online blogs, talk to people, do your research, and you think you can cover everything, then you can go ahead and do it by yourself, and a lot of people do that. However, if you're somebody that doesn't really want that burden or is not going to put that extra work to make sure that the application is perfect, it might be a good idea to hire a lawyer to make sure that everything is right. Because in Canadian immigration, unfortunately, it's a huge bureaucracy, and there's thousands of applications coming through the system, and there's not a lot of people processing these files. So if you have something very simple like a signature box or a question that you didn't answer, often the application will be returned to you entirely, and in the worst situation it's going to be refused, and that could cause a lot of delays, which can cause a lot of issues in your personal life and your family's life, and also financially, because let's say you were planning to move to Canada or do something in Canada or work, now you get a refusal or a delay, and it could cause a lot of issues. So if you have a lawyer that's handling your file, they're going to make sure that everything is being done properly. We'll take another question today again. Now this question is, do I have to have a valid passport when I file my inland spousal sponsorship application? So this is a little bit a more specific question for a specific application. So the answer to that is, when you file your inland spousal sponsorship application, this also applies to overseas spousal sponsorship application and to a lot of other permanent residence application. You have to include a copy. You always have to include a copy of your passport in the application. That's your identity documentation. That's also the documentation that shows your citizenship. But let's say the file usually it'll take 6 months or 12 months or 24 months to process. During that time, the passport can expire. So what's good to do is that when it comes closer to the time that your application is going to be finalized, it's good to renew your passport, because when the time comes for approval and for the issuance of your permanent residency through the landing process, whether it is in an in-Canada office or whether it is for you to travel to Canada to get landed at the border, then you need a valid passport to travel to Canada. And if you're in Canada and you have an interview for your landing process, they need to see your valid passport, again, to confirm that the country recognizes your citizenship and that's your valid identity document. So the answer to the question is, When you file it, it doesn't necessarily have to be valid, or it's valid, and during the processing time it could expire. But know that at the end of it, you will need to have the valid passport. And in some cases, some countries, it takes a lot of time to get the passport issued. So it's good to get that done in advance, so that at the end you don't lose a couple of weeks or a couple of months because you're not able to have your passport renewed. So that's all for today. See you next time.